All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Monster Monday for August 3rd, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond. All right, everybody, I'm DM Gallibond. Today is Monday, the 3rd of August, and we are here to talk about a monster. And this monster is the Kraul Death Priest. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, DM Gallibond, for the last few months, you've been looking at cards out of Magic the Gathering and how we convert those over to 5e, or more specifically, how I converted them for my game. Anytime you do anything homebrew, take its ability to integrate with any other homebrew game with a grain of salt, because so many things are individual to a specific campaign. You know, the style that you're doing, and the just the level of power of the customization that a campaign has. It's really almost impossible to say, oh, well, what that DM did and worked well in their campaign would work equally well if you dropped it into my campaign. And you may be thinking to yourself, but when I bought the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, there's already a Kraul Death Priest in there. Well, yes, there is. But it's not that Kraul Death Priest. No. What we are looking at is how I converted the Maziric Kraul Death Priest, but I just made it a generic Kraul Death Priest, and how I put that into my game. All right. So the as it was published in the game Magic the Gathering, Maziric Kraul Death Priest came from the Commander. Oh gosh, what was it? Commander Archive, I think. Set. It was 2017, and it came out, and this was a in Magic the Gathering, in the realm of Ravnica, the Kraul are members of the Golgari Swarm. And so in my campaign, when I had the party go there, they actually were teleported there, and the Dimir tried to screw up the teleport, but there was actually a few members of the Golgari, including a Kraul Death Priest, who intercepted the teleport and helped the characters out, and then in turn asked the characters to help them out before they were able to be reunited with the Boros Legion and the Azoria Senate, who were the people that had come to Waterdeep to bring them to Ravnica in the first place. All right, so the Golgari Swarm is a collection of creatures that live in the Undercity, and they basically thrive on the decay and the death as part of the life cycle. And the Kraul Death Priest sort of holds a specific level of gravitas and hierarchy within that particular portion of Ravnican society among the Golgari down in the sewers. And in the game, this legendary creature affects all of the other creatures in the game anytime a permanent gets sacrificed by other players. So clearly it's something designed to be in a creature-heavy deck that is meant to remove creatures and artifacts and other permanents from the other players, and thus make your army of creatures stronger and stronger as the game goes on. All right. Now, when I converted this legendary creature from Magic the Gathering over to D&D, I had to decide what kind of creature type it would have. And normally you think of spellcasters and um, playable races like the Kraul as humanoid. But I think for the purposes of having this be an NPC monster um, that my players fought, I thought it would be interesting to have it be a monstrosity instead of a humanoid. So monstrosities are monsters in the strictest sense. Frightening creatures, not ordinary, not truly natural, almost never benign. Uh, and the Kraul as sentient insectoids just sort of seem to fit that bill. And also the fact that clearly the artwork for the Kraul was inspired by creatures like the praying mantis, which just they just have this alien look to them, like they must have come from another planet and not be part of life on Earth because they're just um, so weird looking. And if you have macro photography of a mantis like this one here that I found on Pixabay, uh, they can look downright scary and creepy when they're blown up to large size. Okay, the terrain that you find the Golgari in, we're back out of the rubble belt and the desert where we encountered the Gruul clans, and the Golgari are all in the urban area, although they're kind of in the Undercity. And the Undercity of Ravnica is a vast network of subterranean catacombs, sewers, and layers upon layers of previous civilization ruins that lay buried beneath the streets of Ravnica's urban technological marvels. It's kind of like going to, uh, places in Italy or in the Far East over in China or something like that, where cities have been built on the same plot of ground for thousands and thousands of years. And if you ever go down underneath the city, you can just sort of see layers and layers and layers of the remains and foundations of other cities that were built there before, um, over the vastness of time. So that's kind of the Undercity of Ravnica is sort of the same way in that particular plane of existence. All right, so flavor features for this: clicks and buzz of the Undercity proclaim the Kraul Death Priest the incarnation of decay. All right, so those of you who have followed this for a little bit, you know that the way I um, the way I tried to decide the CR is I look at the casting cost of the creature and the power, and I add those two together. Or I'm sorry, the casting cost and the toughness. So it's a 2/2 creature. Um, it is 5 casting cost, so that makes it a CR7. And looking at what was available for CR7 monsters, I actually had to take 2 different monsters because I wasn't satisfied with the options that anyone gave me. For the core stat block, I went with the Grick Alpha, which is a CR7 monster. And then for the spell casting, I actually drew the spell casting out of the Kuatoa Archpriest, which is a CR6 monster. So if I was gonna give it the CR7 stat block of one creature, I was gonna just slightly turn down the spell casting from another monster so that it wouldn't be overpowered compared to what my characters were going to face. So CR7, 18 armor class, 145 hit points. Again, my PCs hit hard, so you gotta bump up the hit points so that The enemies can last a little bit against them. Damage resistance from non-magical attacks. Dark vision of 60 feet. Passive perception of 12. And I gave it 3 languages: Crawl, Common, and Undercommon. And then the attacks, those are modified from the Grick Alpha. So it makes 2 attacks, one with its, I guess actually, yeah, one with its tail and one with its claws. And if it hits with its claws, it can make 1 mandible attack against the same target. So again, taking inspiration out of the artwork that makes it look like a praying mantis. So the tail is a melee weapon attack, deals plus 10 to hit, 10-foot reach, and 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage. The claws are a weapon attack, plus 10 to hit, 10-foot reach, and 4d8 plus 4 slashing damage. And then the mandible is also, the mandible is also a melee weapon attack, plus 10 to hit, and 2d8 plus 4 piercing damage. And that was from the tentacle attack became the claws, and the beak attack became the mandible. Now, I did go ahead and allow it to keep the stone camouflage because these guys are kind of underground in the catacombs and everything, and so you figure, yeah, they kind of blend in with that area. So the stone camouflage seems to work well for the Kraul Death Priest. And the spell casting ability, like I said, comes from the Kuatoa Archpriest. So it's a 10th level spellcaster. Spellcasting is Wisdom, plus 10 to hit with its spell attacks. Following cleric spells prepared: Guidance, Sacred Flame, Thaumaturgy, Detect Magic, Sanctuary, Shield of Faith, Hold Person, Spiritual Weapon, Spirit Guardians, Tongues, Control Water, Divination, and Mass Cure Wounds, and Scrying is where that all comes from for the spellcasting ability that the Death Priest has. Okay, now Mythic is a what is it called? So called a Mythic Rare card. So that's its rarity level, and actually, I was a little surprised as I was doing my research on the how it fits into Magic the Gathering, and realized that what they call Mythic Rare, they actually have a whole lot of those Mythic Rares. It's you would think that if they're going to call something Mythic Rare, they might put like 1 or 2 in an expansion, or maybe skips, go 3 or 4 expansions without putting any in if they're going to call something Mythic Rare. I mean, make it really, really, really rare so that you have to wait years for a Mythic Rare card to come out. That doesn't seem to be the case. They seem to just sort of print them like water. Uh, like they're going out of style or something. So, Mythic, the Kraul Death Priest, was released in 2017 with the Commander Anthology set as a Mythic Rare card. Artwork by Matthias Kohlroos, one of 130 creatures and one of 36 cards costing 5 mana to cast out of that set. And it was one of 9 cards that requires both black and green mana. Now, the Mythic, the Kraul Death Priest, is also one of 1,121 cards across all the expansions to carry the Mythic Rare level of rarity. So, if they have created 1,121 cards that they call Mythic Rare, it doesn't sound like they're really all that rare. It sounds like they print those pretty often. Now, I mean, I understand it's the frequency that you find them that makes it a Mythic Rare frequency within a set, but still, it's like, come on, guys, if you're gonna put Mythic Rare on the rarity level, yeah, you really oughta, you ought not to create them in every expansion. You oughta, go, like I said, go 3 or 4 expansions without having one at all. make it something that people really, really, really have to wait for in order to get one. All right, so I alluded to how I use this in the Walker of Waterdeep campaign. Um, at the time that they left Waterdeep to be ambassadors to Ravnica, they were traveling with some wizards in a party that was composed of Boros Legion and Azorius Senate representatives. And there were several spellcasters in charge of the teleportation spells. Well, one of those spellcasters happened to be a spy from House Demir. And so instead of going to New Prov, where they thought they were going to go, this uh, this was this particular uh, caster was going to take the party to a different precinct and to a safe house where the Demir held sway. However, the Kraul Death Priest, somehow figured out that this was going on and essentially diverted and redirected the teleport from House Demir into an area that the Golgari controlled in the Undercity. And so, as soon as they arrived, and while the um Demir mage was still trying to figure out why they didn't wind up in the place where she thought they should, the Golgari attacked the Demir spy and slew her. And the rest of the party was sort of, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? And then eventually realized that these people were not, in fact, hostile, but were curious and friendly, and actually were in need of some help. And so they enlisted the party's aid in completing a task that they needed completed. Uh, and then once they helped them with that task, the Kraul Death Priest uh, helped the party get back to New Prov safely so that they could be reunited with the people who had brought them from Waterdeep in the first place. All right, I don't see any activity on the chat, so we probably don't have any questions for tonight. So I'll go right on into wrap up, and I'll check back again to see if there are any questions in a few moments. All right, as I said, I have been DM Gallibond. This has been Monster Monday. You can check out the live streams that I do. 2 nights a week or 2 days a week, I do actual play D&D games. On Thursday nights, I run the Sword Coast Chronicles, where we are doing a survey of all of the published 5e campaigns. On Sunday afternoons, I do the Walker of Waterdeep, and that is where it's a plains hopping game where the PCs are actually encountering and interacting with and fighting against monsters that are drawn straight out of Magic the Gathering and the different planes of Magic the Gathering. We've been to Ravnica. We are currently in Innistrad. And there are many, many, many other planes that we will be going to in this campaign. And so they're finding out a whole lot of other things, and they're enjoying. Most of the players have some experience with Magic the Gathering, so they're enjoying seeing the artwork from the game on the tokens of the monsters that they're fighting and everything. So that's a lot of fun. And then they always enjoy seeing how I stat up the creatures and throw them at them and see what kinds of things they're going to do. As you can tell from this creature here, a lot of them are spellcasters. A lot of them have very beefy hit point totals. And by the same token, the party not only hits hard, but they can hit pretty high armor classes. So, um, you know, the monsters take a beating, but then they also dish out a beating with those high attack bonuses that they have in order to uh, get through the AC of the party. All right. That is going to do it, I believe. I don't see any further questions from the chat. So thank you all for stopping by. Remember, every Monday night we're here live on Twitch, and archives of all of my actual play sessions and all of the Monster Mondays you can find over on my YouTube channel. Also on YouTube, you can find all of the daily content that I post. So 7 days a week, I have short form content up there talking about different aspects of D&D. And on Twitch this last week, since the last time I was with you, we have made affiliate on Twitch. And so that's a nice little milestone. And now we're seeing if we can't push towards partner over there. All right. Well, thank you very much for dropping by. We hope we will see you next week. And just remember to watch out for the monsters under the bed. Good night, everybody.